All right. So the first move of the 5 moves you must make right now before it's too late and stone cold lock pipe century of the year. What are we doing with Kirk Cousins? What's the pivot? Obviously we need to. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah.
R.I.P. Matthew Perry.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're right.
Mr. Bing. Yep.
Yeah, bummer there. Wife's a huge
Mr.
Friends
Bing.
fan, so that was a bummer. Seen a lot of Friends. Obviously, you have to pivot off of Kirk if you're a competing team. If you're not, maybe this, just sent you, down the road. You're like, I wasn't really sure. So what are we doing here? How are we pivoting to Kirk Cousins? My first idea was, I guess if you're a competing team, you could go up and try to figure out how to get, a really good replacement. But that's going to be few and far between. You better hope one of the non-competing teams has a good player that isn't young that they want to get rid of. But it felt like maybe Sam Howell was a guy that if you wanted to stay fairly competent
Baker
and have a chance, that Sam Howell, obviously coming off a big game, but might be able to help you out. Future's uncertain. Price tag might not be super high. Big D, what are your thoughts on the Kirk pivots?
Oh man, this one's been brutal because I'm heavy Kirk this year. I bought into the next Netflix show and just bought him everywhere. That's not true. I had him before, but yeah, I do like the Sam Howell poll. I think that's decent. Because I think if you're a contender, I don't know, man. I have this problem in 2 leagues that I'm competing in. I'm not sure what to buy. I thought about going out and price checking Daniel Jones because of his
probably cheap.
Yeah, it's probably cheap. It's a little risky with the neck situation, but that's one of the ideas that I had. I thought about price checking Geno. Offensive line they're starting to actually play because they haven't been. I think they're starting to gel a little bit more in Seattle, and I think his underperformance, you might be able to find a good price point on him.
Mine's a little healthier.
Mine's a little healthier. I like the Howell because of the youth and what you're buying into. And then on the flip side, like on some of the older people, I thought about pricing out Carr. He's had some struggles, and his facial expressions make people want to sell him every time that he pouts. that too. Yeah, he looks like an emo band, but
he literally looks like Billy Joel Armstrong.
Yeah, so those are some of the directions that I've thought about. Is if I don't want to give up a lot of capital, those are some of the I'm testing out the water, seeing what the price point is.
Yeah, I mean, Carr the last 3 games, 17.3, 18.4, 18.3. Not a terrible drop off from Kirk. Probably maybe not quite the ceiling of what Kirk has, but the weapons are there. And as we go, maybe we're seeing Carr kind of turning back into being the 17 to 20 point a game kind of guy here, which I had him written down as well. The reason I like Howell is just volume. We got volume with Howell. We have chances. We have opportunities. He got 168 attempts. That's first. 1,185 yards at second. 9 TDs tied for first. This is weeks 5 through 8. QB3 in that stretch. So the problem is he's on pace for 97 sacks. So he's doing all that while being sacked a ton. But you're getting a lot of volume with Sam Howell, and maybe it'll be something that stretches into even further. We're not sure in the next season, and maybe he's their answer. He has shown you that he can operate this system at a decent level. If he had some okay protection, we could be really seeing the emergence of a solid player here for years to come. So Sam Howell, I like the Carr. Purdy's another one down right now in everybody's perception. But so maybe you could grab Purdy for cheap here. He's had 26, 8, 14, and then 20 this past week in a loss. And we've seen, a couple turnovers from Purdy, but on the outside, people are mad at Purdy and because he now the tape's out on him and everybody's, knows everything about him. It's like, yeah, that's weird because for like the whole rest of the game, they just allowed him to pass for all the yards that he threw for against the Bengals. They just figured it out at that second about how to stop him on tape. Like, he just made some bad decisions. He's played 14 games, and he's in a good system with good people surrounding him. So Purdy seemed like maybe you could catch the down trajectory on Purdy off the pivot to Cousins. Do you include Cousins in the pivot trade, Big D?
I think I would, especially if I'm going a little bit. I don't think I'd do it in the Howell trade, but or if it would drive the price down, maybe. But I think if I'm going after somebody else like a Carr, or maybe the other name I was thinking of. Well, you said Purdy. I'll pause on that one. But Fields is another person that I might. That's more expensive, right? So then that definitely probably includes Kirk and something. I might try to see if I can get Fields out of the owner. I mean, Fields hasn't played in what, 3 or 4 weeks now?
Yeah,
2 weeks?
2.5
yeah.
weeks.
And I think he may be out next week. Or is trending out again.
Yeah,
but he's like
Badgett was going to start, or whatever his name is, this next week.
Yeah. And he's what, still, let's see, quick math, 6. He's in the top 12 on most league formats. He hasn't played for 3 weeks at the quarterback position, points overall. So that's a player that I might, if I'm trying to go for it, if I definitely think I'm 11 or 12, top of the league as far as championship goes, then that might be a player that I try to push a little bit harder for. But I think Cousins, for me, I would trade Cousins. I would trade Rodgers if he's been on my bench and I need to throw something in.
I don't know. Rodgers may be coming back soon with that tightrope surgery.
Yeah, he could be, but I would trade him for Fields. I mean, I would add him into a package for Fields.
For sure.
I would add him into a package for, some of those upper guys. What about Russell Wilson? Is that somebody?
No,
he's been fine.
I agree. I mean, again, narrative driven, not great, and he hasn't looked great the entire time. But if you look at some of the stats, it's not the worst. I think you could be trending up a little bit. The Denver in general just seems to be playing a little bit better here as we're moving into the back second half of the season. Rather, you mentioned Baker.
Yeah, that's a pretty cheap option you could get there.
Could be a cheap option, and he's been pretty
balling
decent.
out.
Pretty decent
in terms of Baker's stances.
Yeah.
I could add one more in, which might parlay into number 2 of the things you should be doing right now, which is trying to buy Trevor Lawrence, because he's been down in what you thought it could be. He hasn't been over 20 points all season long.
Basically 15 points a damn game.
So I mean, and made some mistakes in this past game. They did get the win. Everyone was very mad at the refs. The refs definitely wanted the Jags to win, but they're on a 5-game winning streak. But he hasn't been, a lot of touchdowns dropped over there, and just not putting out the production that you've been expecting. Maybe you can somehow finagle your way into Trevor Lawrence right now, because it seems like the value's down a bit.
Yeah, no, we've talked a little Trevor in the beginning of the season. I haven't revisited it, but whatever week that was, week 4 or 5, he was at the top of a lot of the advanced metrics and counting stats. He was leading the league or close to it in a bunch of drops that could have really elevated the gameplay. He has an extra touchdown pass in a couple of those games, and he's well over 20 into the threshold that you want. The Jags are trending in the right direction, offensively, coach-wise. The players around him are all pretty good. Calvin Ridley's gonna, I'm assuming that you'll get another year or 2 out of him. Kirk's good. Ingram's good.
Zay hasn't been healthy.
Zay hasn't been healthy. ETN's awesome.
He's been. Oh my gosh, ETN's been.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. He's been a top 5 running back so far this year.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, Kirk pivot to Trevor, and Trevor go by Trevor. So there's a 2-for-1 for your plums. What other move would you make?
I can feel it down in my plums
right now. I feel like, you seem like you were.
I got another one.
Hot and heavy.
Go buy Justin Jefferson. I know that sounds silly, but when he got hurt, there were all kind of trade questions coming from YouTube about, hey, should I trade this for Justin Jefferson? Or I got this offer from the Justin Jefferson owner, and I'm like, is Justin Jefferson available all of a sudden? And now you get Kirk, who just confirmed torn Achilles, which is a huge bummer. And it's like, I wasn't even sure. I have Justin Jefferson in the league, and I was crushing it, and I lost him, and I'm like, okay, can I weather this storm? How long is he going to be out? It says 6 to 8 weeks. You never know. And then all of a sudden, when he went down, they were 1-4. Now they're 4-4. So that was like giving me hope. The fact they had won a couple games, like maybe they can bring him back. But then you lose your quarterback. Now tomorrow's the trade deadline, and this show will probably drop on Wednesday after the trade deadline's over.
We would have probably talked more about these skill position guys, but I didn't want to jump the shark on that and see how it plays out. But Jefferson's a good one because it just doesn't seem like it's going anywhere.
Yeah, maybe they bring in another quarterback, maybe they don't. But if they lose a couple more games, he could not come back. Like they could just set him down, and maybe they don't. Maybe they bring him back because he's ready to go. But
like the Rams did with Cup last year,
it's just a little bit up in the air. And as an owner of Justin Jefferson, they could be getting shaky. They were already moving him. You already saw some Justin Jefferson movement.
They were a hair rattled.
Yeah, and now they got to be even more bummed and worried about, is he going to come back this year? And then they were probably competing to win, and now people get desperate and make poor moves, and you can maybe get yourself some Justin Jefferson with the caveat knowing that you might not get him for this year, and that's fine because we're playing Dynasty here. So I think you should be trying to go set out some feelers for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I'll stay in that same vein. And at this point, we're already almost at 4.
Yeah.
4 moves to make right now. So it feels like bonus content's coming.
Either that or we lied.
Bijan Robinson, I've seen on the X machine, on Des Bryant's, that people are asking if he's a bust. And they're like,
totally.
They're like, well, for what you drafted him as projected, and it's like, well, he hasn't been a bust. Yes, has he scored 20 points a game? No. You guys recall?
He just scored his first rushing touchdown this past week.
Right, but the first 2 games were awesome, and then everyone's his points per game got driven down from him suiting up and playing in the headache.
Jesus.
I still think people are big mad about last week.
In headache gate, and everybody hates Arthur Smith.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Can we stop with adding gate to things? It pisses me off.
Fair enough.
Watergate had nothing to do with
Gate over here.
Watergate had nothing to do with water. It was the name of the fucking hotel.
Big Mad Gate.
Angry Gate.
You're right. I hate it. You're right. Add it to the hate list. Hate.
The hate gate.
Yep. Loathe entirely. Agreed. But in the same vein, Justin Jefferson, people being, like you said, fielding questions for the first time ever a little while ago. When I saw some trades go down, they were big boy trades, but still, he wasn't touchable.
Right.
And Bijan probably hasn't been touchable. And now there's some people out there talking about, is he a bust? And it's like, no, man, he's a rookie who came in and showed what he can do. He's super explosive on the field. He didn't play a whole lot in this last game, and then all of a sudden he came in and it was like, oh, shit, there's Bijan.
Dude, the way he moves, it is incredible.
Outstanding receiver.
He is incredible.
Outstanding rusher. I get it. Tyler Algier should be on the field some. Good player. Everybody hates Arthur Smith.
Rightfully so. Look at him.
Right. I mean,
smuggest man available.
His
terrible mustache.
And he's a nepo baby too.
He is. He's very much. His smug gate has, really.
I'm gonna slash all your tires.
That would be fucked up.
He lives in a yellow smug marine. He's just pretty smug. It's terrible.
And just his reluctance to utilize the talent,
the best players
on his team is really incredible.
And then the fact that now, like Heineke just came in and played really well in the second half of this game.
London's banged up now.
London is banged up.
Well,
London's
left him out to dry on a couple of those throws, but
London was, slow to start the year a little bit, but London's been pretty solid all year long. Remember JT being a little slow, and was he a bust? Did you have to trade him? Brees, it just, you guys fucking relax, man.
Yeah.
The talent is there. He's outrageous. It'll be fine. Just if there's any inkling that the Bijan owner is thinking that he's a bust and they're impatient people, send it out there. You should be just send feelers this week. Go send feelers out for Bijan Robinson. Throw your first out there and see if anybody will send you, if it's not immediate rejection or if you can get a conversation going with Bijan Robinson. The only running backs I would probably not trade him for straight up is Brees at this point, and maybe CMC if your team's really good.
Even then, you got to pivot.
Right. So, going Bijan there. How about another? Let's get into a little bit of a sell here. How about Saquon Barkley? Been healthy for the last couple of games. Situation hasn't been outstanding.
Awful.
But when you flip on the sleeper screen or whatever, the last 4 games are 27.2 in week 2 and then 13, 18, and 15 in bad situations over the last couple of weeks. Healthy. People need running backs. Is there a window here to sell Saquon Barkley? Big D, what are your thoughts here?
Almost.
Is there a window to sell? I think there's always a window to sell a quarterback. I don't know if you're going to get the value for
A
Barkley.
running back, rather?
Yeah, I know what you meant. I don't know if you're going to get the value for him, or at least, like, he may be a player that I would try to get Bijan with, since you just talked about that, to connect those two. Like, maybe try to use Barkley as a piece to sell and add into Bijan. Like, would you send your first in Barkley for Bijan?
I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm. I'm also fine with that.
So, I think that would probably be some of that would probably be the route that I would take. But I think in general, just because of the situation in the Giants, it's hard to sell when shit's not going well. So.
Right. I guess that was kind of my point, is like when you flip the app open and you go to the trade, there's at least the last couple games you see from Saquon Barkley are all solid games. There's a really good one. There's an 18 in there. The receptions are good. He's healthy. Here's a little window for you. You don't want to sell Saquon when he's injured and out and not playing well. You're getting less value. Now, we might have rebounded on value a little bit. He's scoring points. There is some allure of upside there, and people need a player right now who's starting and can give you that upside to go into a championship window. Still only 26. I mean, I think this guy
just ship him down 95 into Baltimore and make everyone happy.
Yeah, I mean, he has CMC ceiling, and we know it. The pass game is huge. The run game is huge. He's operating at a deficit, week in, week out. So I think that there's a must if you want to get out of Saquon. There's a little window here to approach getting maybe not quite maximum value, but better value than has been previously around Saquon in the last year and a half here.
Yeah, they play the Raiders next week. There's no buys. Well, there was no buys this past week, so he could have a good game this week. But buys are back, so I feel like we're in the bye week. People get more desperate than usual. But he's in line for another good game too. So
especially with Daniel Jones coming back. I mean, obviously when they had Tommy DeVito in there who had 0 yards passing.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he had some bad circuit, and he still put up 15.8. And then with Tyrod in there, he had a lot of receptions. So, yeah, I feel like there's a sell window here if you want to get out of Barkley. I'm not saying you must get out of Barkley. I still have plenty of faith in Barkley. But if you could elevate to, like you said, a Bijan or a Brees or a JT or a CMC, I guess, yeah, for sure, and add something to it. But there's a window to get out. I think, and get some picks, and maybe, can you go?
So you're looking for a first and a player?
Could you trade Saquon for Gibbs?
Not after tonight.
In the last week that he had?
Yeah, he's crushing tonight.
So, I feel like there's a window to be able to get out of there. Anyway.
What about HN?
Go ahead.
What about HN? I think I would try to move Barkley for it. May be too late now, but because he's been injured
too long into the injury.
Yeah, could be too late. But
then he has to miss next week, and there's a bye week after that. So you're without HN for 5 weeks, and that's is he coming back? I don't even know. They haven't designated him. You don't know what the injury is.
Well,
there's no news blurb on it.
I mean, they can't.
So he's out for at least another 2 weeks. So you still got some time here.
Yeah. All right. I got another sell on the list. We've got Rachaad White here. We've seen the attempts come down kind of each week here from where he was. We weren't expecting it too much from, at least I wasn't, from the running game, especially once you were losing offensive linemen like they did. But now their offensive line has actually been way better than I thought it would be. But what's really been keeping him up is the receptions, which that's what Rachaad White should be. He should be a third down pass catching weapon in that regard, because that's what he is awesome at. He is so good at catching passes, getting out in space, and operating. There is no reason that Chase Edmonds or whomever should be on the field in any passing down situation for Rachaad White. But him as a runner, I think there's something to be desired. I think he can get you something. But again, when you flip open the box score for PPR here, he's 10.8, and then he had a 6.8, but 15.9 and 17.9. So there may be a window here to get yourself out of some Rachaad White here. What are your thoughts on that, Big D?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that he's. I pivot over here. The other sell that I think is on this team is Mike Evans, so maybe we'll talk about him in a second.
Sure.
But Rachaad White, I think in the very beginning of the season, we were excited about him, or some of us were excited about him. There was some hesitancy with me, but I like the concept of the volume there. I think we've seen the volume, and I think what we've seen, he's produced at that volume. I don't think the volume can go up any higher than what it's at right now, and Baker's been playing pretty efficient. And so to me, I think this is his ceiling. So if you hit a player's ceiling, this is kind of when you should sell. That's my take on him.
Which you don't have to sell a player at a ceiling because he reached what you thought he could get to, and if it's working for you, you don't necessarily.
No, you don't play fantasy football. You have to sell if they're at their ceiling.
I don't think that.
Everything's must and have and top and big.
I don't know how long this lasts. Is the problem? How long is he going to be at his ceiling? Which he's not. He is producing, but it's 3.32 yards per carry, which is never like usually what I'm pointing to.
Basically, the whole backfield to starting now, he's splitting targets. The attempts have come down some from where they were at. Was kind of the point I alluded to in the beginning. I think he's
inefficient.
I think he's a fine player, and I don't know that all of that inefficiency is on his shoulders here.
He's inefficient.
But
Drink.
They're Keyshawn Vaughn and Chase Edmonds. Are all of a sudden in the mix. Maybe Sean Tucker at some point gets a chance. Catches are what he should be doing, but it's propping up his points per game right now. I think you could get out.
Saddle.
A 2 seems too light for Rachaad White, right?
You got
getting a 2?
Squeeze more out.
Yeah.
Would you try to get Ramondre somehow with White?
I'm down.
I mean, I guess, but
I just like the player more. That's really so maybe I could get a swap there.
I might do a player swap. Maybe I would trade him for. In our last video that we did, we talked about Downs. Would you do Josh Downs for White?
Can we get some Pacheco action? Can I add something to it and get Pacheco, or is that something that you're not really that interested in either? Matt doesn't like it.
I mean, it's fine, I guess. I'm just not. It's nothing that I'm really excited about there.
Injured Montgomery. Maybe he'll be back next. I think they got a bye next week. The Lions, not sure, but I don't know if you could get Montgomery with White somehow. But would you add a 2 to White to get Montgomery?
Oh yeah, all day.
So White and a 2 to get Monty. Not sure about that, Matt.
That sounds like a lot to me. That sounds like a lot.
I think with White in it too, you could probably do better. Go set your sights.
Do better than the top ranked running back before he got injured. I mean, I think people don't, and no foul on you guys, but we love Monty here.
We can take it.
We love Monty here, but I don't understand why people are so down on Monty, man. I mean, like he rocketed up my tiers this last time we did the readjustment because he signed a contract in a scheme that's just gonna feed him. Like the only thing you have to worry about are injuries. I mean his production value is on par with Saquon Barkley.
Brian Robinson, or can we swap White for Brian Robinson? Matt doesn't like that either.
I don't like any of these guys you're saying. Like I would just
starting to get the meat sweats.
White. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I'm trying to get out of White into something different.
You must.
What about
White
Pollard
now?
Pollard, hasn't been producing at the level that you want him to do, but I'd be fine to kind of buy low on Pollard, sell high on White, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, all right. Now we're getting somewhere. I mean, Josh Jacobs. If I could somehow, if I could add a 2 and a 3 or whatever I got to do to get from White to Jacobs, all in on that.
I'm trying to move from like Rachaad White to Javonte. That's what I would be more interested in doing something there.
So send White and a 2 for Javonte and see where the combo starts.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to have to add something else to that, I would assume.
Yeah.
But
that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
White and a 2 should get you something pretty good.
Yeah.
And if you need a running back, it's not going to be as good, right?
Right.
If you don't need a running back or you're just trying to get running back points off your team because you're not winning and you want to look towards next year, go get you a wide receiver. You'll get a pick, and that's how you do it.
How about go the other way? Would you go like White down to Roshan for N2?
I mean, I would, but
I knew that would get him.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's that, like getting 2 2s for Rachaad White?
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Two twos is enough for me.
Two twos is enough?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All day. Plus Sunday.
Man's,
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving. I got two more. These are on the cheaper end of things, and then if anybody else has anything to add before we get out of here, I'm going Jonathan Mingo here.
Old Johnny Mingo.
I think I would send some feelers out from him. You paid it 2. Maybe somebody would take 2 threes right now because it hasn't necessarily been panning out in the box score there. But he has a 99% snap share this week, a 93% snap share the week before that. He's been fairly high snap share throughout the season. He's second on the team in targets with 33. Chark was a little banged up through some of that. He had his best game this week, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 62 yards, got you 10 points. But here we have a little bit of a schematic scheme change from Frank Reich, who was calling plays and wanted his scheme in there, and the plan the whole time was kind of to meld. Is it Thomas Brown? Is that who?
Yes.
Is the OC
correct
there? But he wasn't necessarily. He'd never done this before, so they were kind of.
That's because he was in L.A.
Right. They were trying to meld this kind of schemes together and get him ready, and then they would. Well, it wasn't going well, and I think they had to do this a little quicker than they thought. Well, like you said, from L.A. now all of a sudden we got coming from a system that is perennially running the most 11 out there. So now all of a sudden you're seeing high percentages for Mingo, which you were all season. You're going to catch 3 wide receivers out here a lot. I think Bryce has shown in this last game or two, taking some steps forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Seems to be adjusting to kind of what's going on. Now, whether you like him or not, whatever, but he looked a whole lot more comfortable this week, and maybe this scheme fits him a little better, and he's more comfortable in what they're doing. Maybe Frank's shit was a little too complicated. Be interested to see if they add a little bit more motion. Me and Big D were talking pre-game or pre-show that not a whole lot of motion in this offense, but that's something that they do a lot in McVay and that Shanahan tree, some window dressing, moving guys around. I think it's coming. Mingo's the perfect guy for that kind of shit. That he can get you deep, he can get you shallow, and big body people. So just an interesting guy that hasn't produced, but he's getting on the field a lot. I think everything's kind of moving in the right direction in Carolina. Whereas, I think if some people aren't paying attention, they've already written off Carolina. So I think there could be some
and Mingo.
So a lot of assets to be potentially had from me. Did you have something, Big D, before I move to the last guy?
No, sorry.
I think a little bit of the Mingo's problem is that him and Thielen are similar-ish players. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of playing. They're a Venn diagram that's overlapping each other a bit too much right now.
That's a decent call, but nice for him to have.
For sure,
Thielen
absolutely, yeah. It just wish it could translate more to the box scores, but we've seen a bit more the last couple weeks. So definitely something to look at if you're drafted Mingo. I mean, he was going in the early second round.
Right.
So
I think.
Well, and I think they're starting to release him more. You kind of said it. The scheme is I think gonna hopefully change because it's been shit since the start. Whatever the confusion is, they like we talked about pre-show, there's no motion. If I can guess when they're going to run every single time, like 99% of the time, I guarantee you that the defense can, right? And the other thing that I like about Mingo is his yards per target are starting to go up, which tells me
adjusted speed score. But
I didn't want Jason to drink too much more. His yards per target are going up, which tells me that he's starting to get either the scheme he's understanding it better, or he's starting to understand the playbook better. He's getting off the line and not running small crossers, and so I do think that this is the time if you want to get out to sell him, but I also think this is the time to buy him in the sense of the floor I don't feel like is going to be any lower for him at this point. He's better than Terrace Marshall for me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Terrace Marshall didn't even play this past week.
Yeah, but even coming out, I had him.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're okay. No, I was
trying to decide if it was Terrace Marshall who was hurt or Laviska Shenault who was hurt, because they're literally the same person. Yeah.
Yeah, never seen him in the same room, same time. So yeah, that's all I got. And just to piggyback on, so I said sell Mike Evans on that last one. I would say buy Bryce Young right now. Bryce Young is looking better and better every week.
Yeah.
I try to make a point of watching his his games on a quick fast forward just to see what it's looking like. And like I said, there's no motion. That offensive line, it looks like it's doing pass protection on run plays. In other words, that they look horrible right now. They're getting no push,
opposite push, reverse push.
Yeah. And so, but it's starting to look a little better. And with that, I think the stats are going up, which is a great indicator that, I don't think Bryce Young is a bust. I still think that he's got a lot of potential there, and he would be on that buy list for me.
Yeah. And the last one for me was the guy that was at the end of this show last week, Pop Douglas over there.
Demario, if you're nasty.
77% of the snap share, led all Patriots this week. First on the team with that, and then most targets was 6. Only five receptions for only 25 yards, so it didn't amount to a whole lot. But Bourne now ACL out for the year.
Was that confirmed?
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Saw that earlier today.
And then Devontae Parker got his head knocked off.
Right, and just again going back to the well again here. Ben said throw a third out for him last week. He didn't explode this week, so if nobody's paying attention, I think that same third could get you Demario. They're down another guy. He's their most explosive player, and he just looks different out there than everybody else they have.
Especially with Tyquan Thornton, a healthy and active this past week.
Which Tyquan's about to be back on the field this next week. Him and Juju are going to be holding this shit down.
Juju didn't play a snap until.
Yeah, then he comes in and catches a touchdown.
Yeah.
So it's just, what the fuck are the Patriots doing? But Demario Douglas should be somebody I'm trying to acquire as much as possible. He was super free, then he was kind of free, and now he might cost you a little bit of something. But I think there's, even if it's just buy for a third, sell for a 2 in a couple of weeks, I think that's well in the range of possibilities, if not turning into somebody who catches a decent amount of buzz, because it's like he just offers you something different, and now they're Bourne kind of could give you a little something different. And Bourne's been really good for them, so I think Demario can slide right into the Bourne role and be good. Now, I haven't seen who runs what routes where, so don't come at me saying they do 2 different things with Bourne, but Demario Douglas rounding us out this week. Mike Evans from Big D. That's such a tough sell always. We talked about Terry McLaurin and Cooper. Mike Evans seems to be right in that same vein, although has been, very, very explosive this year. Was a bummer this past week start, but then gets the helmet donk touchdown. So when things are going your way, they're going your way. But Mike Evans, somebody you're trying to prioritize selling right now, Big D?
I think so. Just from a value perspective. Obviously, I'm not selling them if I'm competing, but but if I have them on a middling team, I definitely think that right now is probably the time to sell them. I don't know if I want him next year on a competitive team as much as I would want the compensation that I could get for him, if that makes sense, right? It'd have to be the right compensation. I mean, I'm not going to give him away for a second or something crazy like that.
I don't think you're going to get that much more than it. I don't think you're going to get that much more than what it is for Evans. That's always the problem. That's the problem every single year is you want too much. You want more than what you...
Well, you want what he's worth, but nobody wants to pay what he's worth because he's worth more than a second in your lineup all day right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you got a big lineup or, 3 wide receivers. God, Mike Evans is... I mean, shit. Fuck. I mean, I don't know where he is in the... I don't have it in front of me at the moment. I just closed it all out where he is in points per game, but he has been on fire for most of the season. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, man, I hope maybe you can...
Wide receiver 14?
Wide receiver 14. And
40th overall.
Crushing. And looks like he has, for sure another season in him. He's probably going to end up somewhere else next year, I would assume. So, Mike.
Yeah, he looks fine. But like I said, I think at this point, because there was so much question marks at the beginning of the season, he's proven that he can play, right? He's put stats up. He's looked good. Like, this is where I think that I would try to get that contender first. And I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with a late first for Mike Evans on a team where I'm rebuilding. Yeah. Josh Palmer is probably the last one I would say. He's a buy for me. He had a knee injury coming into the game. He re-injured it seemed, during the Charger game, and then he came back out after it got x-rayed and had three or four targets, I think, in that, after he came back out after the injury. And so he, opportunity cost and contending. That's the kind of player that I'm targeting. Is he's young, he's proven it on the field in the past when he's had to be a fill-in, and I think he's a great like wide receiver 3, with wide receiver 2 upside, and that you should be able to get for pretty cheap.
He showed you that in the game before this, dropping 18 on you. I believe it was 18, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's got some upside. I think it's a good way to wrap it up. You got a little bit out of Quentin Johnston this week, 5 for 50, I think we talked about it either on Patreon or one of the last shows. It's like Quentin Johnston, a little bit of a project. I know everybody's hard on him right now.
Hard on,
but
Bones is back.
I think he was a little bit more of a project. You weren't hoping that he would be in. At this point and being leaned on and
especially with Williams being out.
Williams is out and Gerald Everett was out and he's still only 550, but like you saw them get the ball in his hand and you kind of saw what could be and what the best parts of his game are right now from QJ. So at least giving you a little bit of hope from him. I know nobody wants to hear about it because there's no way he can be good because he hasn't been good through the first 7 games and the opportunity's been there. So there's no way he could be good, but it's like
pretty much,
man, he was more of a project than the other top 4 wide receivers were, or top 3 wide receivers, whatever it was. And nobody's giving him any of the benefit of the doubt right now because, we just live in a results now society. There's no way that he could get better as the year goes on and actually be, still a pretty good player. So,
well, the thing I liked about him this week was this was the first time he got that many targets. And the more important part is how many he caught, right? Because one of the biggest knocks on him was his hands. And he seems like he's, this week he's answered the call. So we'll see. The Jets are going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what the stat line looks like after that, and more importantly, how he played on the field. But yeah, I think that's a good
do what he does well.
Exactly.
We talked about it. We saw this with Treylon last year. He's struggling a little bit, and then all of a sudden you start running crossers, get the ball in his hands. It's like, oh, Treylon's can play. Well,
I rewatched this game today, the all 22 wasn't out, so I watched the condensed version. And one of the things I thought interesting, sometimes the announcers make interesting points, was that I think it was the left side of the field exclusively at TCU. Yeah. And this year, or this game, they basically kept him on the left side of the field. So that there could be something to that, just like linemen. Some guys can't go. Man. Exactly. Some people can't go from left tackle to right tackle. It's the same thing with wide receivers. Some wide receivers just feel better on one side of the field. So
some guys can't self-complete with either hand, I don't know. Is what it is. So anyway, I mean, I can't.
T-Rex, I think, is who you're talking about. That's why he's so angry. He can't reach.
That
was a Family Guy episode, I think.
All right. And on that note, we have stayed.
That's a Mastergate.
Yeah, that's a Mastergate. That is correct. strong ending there. All right.
Let's get the FF out of here.
Let's get the FF out of here. We don't need any more gates.
No.
So be sure to like, subscribe, comment below. 5-star review on the podcast. $5 holler on the Discord side of things. You get 3 extra episodes on the Patreon. You get access to the Discord. All that jazz. It's a fun community over there. We're going to start kicking up some mock drafts here relatively soon. Start working on some ADP. We're going to do a Patreon 2024 startup. We'll probably kick it over to the YouTube and talk about that because that's pretty interesting at this point, seeing where all these different guys fall. So we'll start getting back into that game. Different content over there. And like I said, access to the Discord. So if you're liking what we're doing, come support the team. $5 holler. Helps your boys out. Much appreciated. If not, all those other things that we said. We'll catch you on the next one. We'll be back with a little more rebuild content at some point this week. We're going to be doing a couple of those here throughout the next few weeks because we're getting to that time of year. I'm not we don't get a whole lot of them from our patrons because those guys aren't rebuilding, but there's a bunch of other shows out there that have been putting rebuilding content out nonstop for since week 2. And, I understand why. I get it. You guys are bad.
Yeah.
This is okay.
That's what you do a lot is rebuild.
Just keep rebuilding when you keep listening to that shit.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
The year before.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's weird. They're missing. So anyway, we appreciate you guys. We love you. Thank you so much for all the support. Shout out to Corey Riggs. Sent us an email a long time ago about just us being fucking good-ass dudes. And
good-ass dudes.
Just much appreciated. I've been meaning. I'll lead off with another show with it at the top of it. Been meaning to hit you back. I think it was from September. Just a nice little email to let us know that he's still listening and been a big fan for a while. So Very much appreciated. We'll catch you next time. There ain't no bull junk there.
Bull junk.
All right. We'll see you next time.
I got a lot of problems with you people.